Story 1. Tell children about the activities I enjoyed when I was their age, and explain why those experiences were better than what is available today. Story 2. Ask, why are those children not in school? Whenever I see children during the daytime. Story 3. People often drive recklessly and dangerously, behaving as if they have no regard for safety or traffic rules. This careless driving endangers not only themselves but also other road users. It is important to promote responsible driving habits to ensure everyone's safety on the roads. Story 4. Sit on my porch for hours without actually doing anything. Story 5. Some possibilities. 1. Pull up the knees on my trousers when I sit down. 2. Return my shopping cart inside the store. 3. Tip heavily. 4. Buy commemorative postage stamps. 5. Wear black to funerals. 6. Subscribe to my local newspaper. 7. Write checks. 8. Send greeting cards with long handwritten notes inside. 9. Write my representative and senators every week. 10. Use my phone less than 10 minutes a day. Note: I am old. Story 6. Feeling shocked every time I look in the mirror. Story 7. I call all consoles Nintendo and all handheld devices Game Boy. I do not care. Story 8. Turn down my music when driving and trying to read signs or find a specific building. Story 9. Buy seats instead of floor tickets for arena concerts. I need to sit down between bands now, especially if the venues do not allow entry and exit during the event. Story 10. I usually get changed for bed right after dinner, even if I plan on staying up very late. Story 11. I get irrationally excited about a really good deal on paper towels. Story 12. I sat watching my neighbor's tree being cut down from my window as an exciting activity. Shame. Story 13. Thinking to myself, why don't they have that child home in bed? Anytime I hear a screaming baby in a store past 8 p.m. Story 14. Write in cursive. The interns at work look at me like I am William Shakespeare. Story 15. I have Dollar Tree reading glasses all over the house. I buy 5 to 10 pairs at a time and can never find any good ones in my house. There are 2 pairs with only 1 temple on my nightstand. I wear those all the time. Story 16. Use subtitles to watch television. Drive slowly, taking forever to urinate. Story 17. Drinking coffee and smoking a cigarette as I stare grumpily at the morning sunlight. Story 18. Turn down the volume in the car if I need to see something better. I have no idea why I do this now, I just do. Story 19. Apparently, it is more of an Asian custom, but when I am in a store browsing, I walk with my hands behind my back. I do this generally when walking around or taking my time perusing items. Story 20. Waking up with back or neck pain because I slept in an awkward position. Story 21. Prefer silence or the sound of birds and the wind rustling the leaves on trees to any other noise. Story 22. When someone litters or behaves similarly, I give them a disapproving look and tut. Story 23. I am 30 years old, but I cannot make any large purchases on my phone. Small things like food delivery and Amazon are fine. However, for anything expensive, I feel like I need a big screen. Airplane tickets? I use the computer. Furniture? I use the computer. My husband makes fun of me. Story 24. Not only do I have a favorite grocery store, I have a favorite row to park in and a favorite way to drive home. Story 25. I am excited about my vacuum that is coming in the mail. I keep checking tracking updates like I used to for a video game or medication. Story 26. If it were not for medical appointments, I would never go out. Story 27. Wear New Balance shoes. 1080s kick ass. My wife wears them and so does my son. My daughter is next. Story 28. I am the youngest and first person in my family to retire at 63. On a perfect day, I can fit in a nap after breakfast and another one late in the afternoon. I am looking at that 6-hour period and thinking I can squeeze in a short power nap. I am also wondering if a nap before bed could negatively affect my night's sleep. I do not actually need to nap, but I am preparing for when I get older. Story 29. Where do I start? Turn the radio down in the car because I need to think. I use all of the exasperated expressions my father and grandfather used when frustrated with the world. I talk to the television while watching game shows. Those people are so dumb. Why don't they listen to me? I repeat my stories to everyone just in case I never told them before. I could go on, but that is what an old man would do. Story 30. I get excited over small things that only a boring person would get excited over. Examples: getting socks, washing my blankets, dishes being done, my car having a full tank, getting new cleaning supplies, receiving Christmas gift sets that include lotion, a loofah, and soap. Story 31. I am 21 years old and have been playing solitaire since 5th grade. Story 32. Listen to classical music, play Sudoku, go for nature walks, write poetry, and drink coffee every morning. I am 19 years old. Story 33. I have started not caring. Life is short, and the amount of time I have left is very limited. I do not mince my words, nor do I give in to difficult people. Story 34. I like reading my local newspaper, specifically the obituaries, because some of them are interesting. Story 35. Get upset when loud cars drive down my block. Call the police on my loud neighbors. Fall asleep watching a movie. Snore. Story 36. Mail each of my nieces a greeting card with a check every birthday. Also, write checks. Story 37. Walk to the mailbox every day and consider it an outing. Story 38. Hobble when getting out of the car for about 50 to 100 feet. I have to warm up. Story 39. Play 1980s music. I have no idea at 49 years old who is popular in 2025. Story 40. I do not have a politically correct bone in my body, nor do I want one. Story 41. Literally got excited over a new set of pots and pans. I stopped doing the dishes and brought my wife into the kitchen to show her how much the non-stick pans truly did not stick. The food just slid right off. It was the most amazing thing I have ever seen. We were both thrilled. I am 35. Story 42. Wear a cardigan all the time, even in summer, because I am always cold. I started saying, back in my day, do crafts like hand embroidery and sewing. My back hurts. Wear glasses. Have to ask people to repeat what they said. Story 43. Walk slowly. Make noises when I get up, and take my medications. Story 44. I take afternoon naps. I drink tea all day. I always wear my dressing gown at home. I use a shopper's trolley. I reminisce about prices and I enjoy Werther's originals. Story 45. Complaining about Generation Z and how they never want to do anything and they are lazy. I am 24 years old. Story 46. I forgive people as if it never happened because I feel life is short. Story 47. Tell people who knock on my fence that I do not have time to talk to them. I do, but I do not want to. Story 48. Take many pills every day for all of my ailments. Story 49. Early dinner and early to bed. I feel significantly better because of it. Story 50. Eat all my meals at the kitchen table and use a napkin, not a paper towel. Story 51. Indigestion is a problem I was not prepared for, and I spend too much time in the bathroom. Also, as a proud metalhead, I cannot handle extreme volume anymore. Music, movies, and so on, please turn that down. Story 52. Pick up trash outside at work and around my neighborhood using a trash pickup tool. Story 53. When leaving a store, I pull my car keys out halfway across the parking lot. Story 54. I am 27 and have more knowledge and collectibles from the Golden Girls than anyone in my age group has a right to. Story 55. Complain about adolescence, but to be fair, they are becoming increasingly unintelligent and aggressive. Story 56. Get sore joints when it rains. Have my joints crack whenever I stand up. Story 57. Always check where the nearest restroom is when going anywhere. Story 58. Complain about people making loud noises with their motorcycles and about slow drivers on the road. Story 59. Wake up early. Also, realize that there is nothing outside that is good for you after a certain time, so I am in the house pretty early. It has saved a ton of money and stress. Story 60. Make an audible grunt or sigh every time I stand up or sit down. Story 61. Get off my lawn, you bunch of punks. Just kidding. It was my lawn. I just planted it for the spring. A tenant who lived nearby tried his best to reprimand the gang of 2 and 14-year-olds. Forget you, sir. He was instantly defeated as an adult with authority. There is no recourse for a group of kids bullying an adult. Stay calm. Story 62. I am almost 80 years old. I still race Corvettes, play golf and pickleball. Story 63. Complain about how you cannot go anywhere or visit any web page without being bombarded by advertisements for things you do not want or need. Story 64. Look out my window at the neighbor's children like I am Clint Eastwood. Get off my lawn. Story 65. All sorts of things. Made from scratch cooking, raising a small garden, Sunday drives. My daily driver is a 1986 model. I rarely use power tools unless I have to. I really try to live in a more traditional sense. I am only 32. Story 66. Wear compression socks. Watch Antiques Roadshow. Watch game shows. Crochet. Drive slowly. Shake your fist. Story 67. Stand in line at the pharmacy every month to pick up multiple prescriptions for several different medications. Story 68. Bird watching. Eating soup and pudding. Sitting in a rocking chair reading. Story 69. I wear cargo shorts. I drive a gray Toyota Camry. I definitely wear socks with sneakers. I go without shaving for a day or two. I have extended conversations in the grocery checkout line. I make old, bad jokes at the doctor's office. I have a pill collection and a plastic container with the days of the week on it to remind me of the schedule. Shall I continue? Story 70. I complain about getting older. I criticize the younger generation. I am 45 years old. Story 71. Ask, what? Every time someone says something, sometimes twice. Story 72. Say, I need to get my eyeglasses. I hate needing reading glasses. Story 73. My neighbor parks on the public street, with 90% in front of his property and 10% in front of my property. It infuriates me to no end. Story 74. Damn. They do not make music like they did back in the day. Story 75. Walk out of the house without my phone and read a book in the park. Story 76. Go on Reddit and tell children how things were better when I was a child, and they just will not understand. Story 77. My nighttime routine is to sip tea while listening to an audiobook and playing solitaire. Story 78. I am only 55, but in recent years, I often walk across the house to get or do something, and once I am there, I have no idea why I went there. I thought that would start a couple of decades later. Story 79. Complain about the lack of respect in some members of the new generation of youth. I say some because not all Generation Z or Generation Alpha individuals are disrespectful. Story 80. I have not been to a Friday night movie in years. Weekend mornings or not at all. Story 81. I like to go inside places. Online banking? No. Starbucks drive-through? No, I go inside and stand around for a few minutes. Apply online? No, I go there with a printed resume and try to talk to someone who will actually hire me. It has driven all of my partners crazy that I spend an extra 2 to 3 hours per week by physically going to places to do my work. Story 82. I buy tickets with seats at concerts, if possible, instead of standing all night. Story 83. Where are their parents? Is often said by me whenever I see young children out and about. Story 84. I make old people sounds when I bend over and try to pick something up. It goes from an exasperated sigh to an oh goodness, I'm too old for this. Story 85. Sort my prescriptions and vitamins for morning, noon, and night. Prepare 4 weeks at a time so I only have to do it once a month. Story 86. Invest. Save. Not care about what other people think. Feed the birds and squirrels so I can watch them. Wear the ugliest Walmart nightgowns I can find. mostly because I think it's hilarious. Wear the Skechers slip-ons. Story 87. Only make purchases on a desktop computer, not on my phone. Bring some candy in my purse everywhere. Have the subtitles turned on the TV. Story 88. Trim the thick, wiry hairs that sprout from random parts of my body where there is no natural reason for such hairs to grow. Story 89. Decompress at the end of a long string of days working in a row by opening a Miller Lite, playing some ZZ Top, and looking at Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Also, complaining about tap to pay and how people who rely on it as their only payment method are not very thoughtful. Story 90. Hold on for dear life to the handrail every time I get on and off a bus, groaning in pain as my joints crack loudly. Story 91. Back in my day these questions were properly formulated, but nowadays it seems people just throw some words around and expect everyone else to know what they mean. Story 92. Complain about what new generations do and how they do not respect anyone. Story 93. My back makes popping sounds when I get up in the morning. Does that count? Story 94. I stopped watching award shows because I have no idea who the presenters or nominees are, except that they are mostly young people. I only recognize anyone when they receive a Lifetime Achievement Award or during an in-memory segment. Besides, they are not closed captioned. Story 95. Wear an automatic watch and mention whenever possible that I do not need to charge it or change its batteries. Story 96. Take pictures of small print with my phone so I can enlarge it to read. Similarly, I increased the default font size on my computer and phone. It is the modern equivalent of large print books and magazines. Story 97. Since I was a kid, I loved having hot tea and a nice biscuit while doing crosswords. Story 98. Rather reclusive. I do not socialize much. I like to sit on my patio and watch the birds and my dogs while sipping tea. Story 99. Getting excited about flea markets, estate sales, and antique shops. Story 100. I now urinate a little whenever I am startled. Please do not try to scare me. It ends badly. Story 101. I am 38 years old and just bought a house. I had to get internet, but I also got the basic cable package because I must watch the news. Channel 6 Action News. I have to have it and feel like an old person. Story 102. I have been saying, I am getting too old for this, for years and have just turned 30. Story 103. Watch people out my window and wonder what mischief they are up to. Story 104. If I dismantle something, I keep the parts that may be useful in the future, such as nuts, bolts, and screws. Story 105. Apparently we eat dinner early. My wife and I usually eat dinner around 5:30 p.m. Many of our friends do not eat dinner until 7 p.m. or later. It is not a matter of different work schedules. Most of us work 9 to 5 jobs. We are both just hungry at that time, so we eat. Story 106. Taking pictures of cooking instructions on food packaging because the text is too small to read. Story 107. Look out the window to see who is parking in front of my house. Story 108. If I have been sitting or driving for a while, when I get up and start walking, I am hunched over. I have to remind myself to use good posture, and even then, sometimes it is hard. Story 109. I might be less tolerant of foolish people. There just seems to be a lot more of them these days. They are everywhere. Am I being cranky? Story 110. Take vitamins and go to bed before 10:30 p.m. if I can help it. Story 111. Last night, I pulled a muscle while changing positions in bed. Story 112. Go to bed before 10 p.m. even on weekends unless I am at an event. Story 113. Complain about children these days. Man, children these days do not know what it is like having back problems, not like when I was young. Story 114. I wake up early, drink coffee, and read the news before work. I have been doing this for about 20 years. I am 36. Story 115. Go to cafeterias. They are not fine dining, but they are less expensive and usually have a decent selection. Story 116. I started using coupons. To be fair, they are for the cannabis dispensary I go to and are printed on the back of my grocery receipts, which is the place I usually visit just before buying cannabis. Story 117. Use my phone for actual telephone calls. Not too often, but it happens. Story 118. A classic response, but it is so true. Run errands early before everyone else wakes up. Story 119. I have preferred to eat dinner at 4:30 since I was in my 50s. Story 120. Scroll while drinking coffee first thing, then start the day a couple of hours later. I just earned that Reddit banana thing this morning. So, my new old person superpower. Story 121. Take 5 steps before I can stand fully upright after getting up from a chair. Story 122. Prefer my coffee in silence. Reach my hand into a plant and break off the right branch or leaf, preferably while drinking that coffee in silence. Story 123. Sit down in a comfortable chair and fall asleep. I call these occurrences involuntary naps. Story 124. I talk about the 1990s with nostalgia quite a bit. It was the good old days. To my son, it might as well have been the 1890s. Story 125. Sigh a lot and make grunting noises when I get up or sit down. Story 126. Fall asleep while watching television, even if I really like what I am watching, even if it is only around 8:30. Story 127. I have my coffee outside in the morning and listen to the birds. Story 128. Complain about people wearing their trousers halfway down their thighs, making them walk not like a gangster but rather like an elderly person who has soiled themselves. Story 129. Most of the time I go to bed at a reasonable hour, and then I wake up stiff. Story 130. Slice an apple with a knife to eat it and open the husks when buying corn on the cob. I just cannot get those worms out of my mind. Story 131. Given that I am an elderly person, by definition, everything I do. Story 132. Watch my neighbors through the windows. That is my social life. And many more. I am old-fashioned at 41 but have been for my entire life. I do nearly everything old because I have old parents who I have always been close to, and I am with them every day so they influence me. Story 133. I take a nap during the day when I feel like it. I work from home, so thankfully I can if time permits. Story 134. Listen to birds on the Merlin application. I go out every morning with my coffee and identify which birds I hear. I get excited when there is a new bird. It is a core activity for older adults. Story 135. Getting to a place the second it opens. I am usually up at 5 a.m. and do not like when places open later than 8 a.m. The bookstore that I go to does not open until 9 a.m. Why is that? Story 136. Waking up before my alarm and thinking that sleeping past 8 a.m. on the weekends is wasting the day, even though I don't do anything after getting out of bed. Story 137. I complain about my younger coworkers not knowing how to do something we have all taught them multiple times. I am sorry if you are the university or college class of 2023 or 2024, but what happened to you all? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.